I think
that's kind of what I'm saying, that it should be possible to describe a movie without giving away the ending or big twists, right? And people don't seem to be able to thread that needle, and as a result, we get these useless descriptions and movie posters and so on.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I don't know what just happened there to my voice, but hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are back. The Eye of the Storm podcast. I'm here with my boys, Daniel and Hervé.
Yep.
Hey.
Guys, apologies, I look like a silhouette. I don't know what the hell is currently going on with my lighting, but forgive me. Still, I'm going to push through and, still make it happen. But, guys.
It's spring now. We get more than 4 hours of daylight now.
Yeah, exactly.
So take it into account.
Oh my days. We'll have to do something about the curtains. But guys, let's just get straight into it, man. So, topic of the day. What movie trends can't end soon enough? Anyone wants to go first?
I can start. So I had a very, very loose interpretation of the question, so my pick is not about movies themselves, but about how people talk about movies, including how they're marketed. And that is spoilers in general, but how that relates to things like trailers and how people talk about movies and how they're advertised. Because I think one of my big things is that in the streaming era, there's more stuff than ever, and while there have always been good movies and bad movies in any system of filmmaking, it's harder than ever to find the good stuff, and it's harder for the good stuff to kind of filter to the top, where it will get noticed. And I think one of the big problems is this idea of spoilers has gotten way out of hand, where people are terrified of mentioning anything related to plot, including the premise, or even the beginning of it, or anything, or even where it's set, or anything like that. Because it might be a spoiler, or somebody might be upset that it's a spoiler. And I think that filters through to things like trailers, where they often tell you or movie posters especially, where they tell you almost nothing about what the movie's about. Almost every film poster I've seen in the last couple of years has been, a serious-looking person looking straight at the camera. And, there's no tagline, there's no what if, there's no premise, anything. It's just a person looking at a camera, like the main cast usually. And that filters down into how movies and shows are described, especially on streaming platforms. So I picked an example that I found just poking around Disney Plus the other day. And this is from the show The Old Man. I have no idea if it's good or not. I haven't seen it. My point is, I wouldn't know if I want to see it based on the description, which is a former CIA operative learns that to ensure his future, he must reconcile his past. That has me almost nothing. I know that there's like a CIA thing going on, but that's it. I don't know the premise. I don't know what the main character is. I don't know what the inciting incident is. Nothing. And then compare this with the X-Files, which is the truth is out there, and FBI agents seek it in this sci-fi phenomenon about their quest to explain the unexplainable. So the second one gives you a very clear idea of what kind of show this is and who might like it and what it's about. It also doesn't have any spoilers, right? It doesn't give any plot details. It doesn't give any big twists, anything, but it still gives you a clear idea of what the show is about. And I think that is a subtle art that has been lost in the last couple of years, where because of this pattern, I think it's even harder than it already was to find things you might be interested in, you might enjoy watching. Any thoughts?
I agree to an extent of what you're saying. The reason why I say I agree to an extent is because I understand the feeling of having a movie ruined due to knowing what's going to happen. But I do get what you're saying, because a lot of the times the posters, especially with the like movie posters, it's bland. So it's like, you want something more from the movie poster that makes you want to go and watch the film. But a lot of these movie posters, Jesus Christ, now I look blue. But a lot of these movie posters, like they give nothing, and a lot of the synopses they give nothing, and even the trailers they give nothing. But at the same time, I've seen some trailers where it's like, okay, I've just watched the whole movie in 3 minutes. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah. I get it.
It's one or the other. There's no this is the pitch.
But there could be an in between though. There could be an in between. I just like clearly it's just not easy to do for some people. I don't know. Maybe it's a thing where people are just getting they're just it's too OD now, where they're scared of spoilers. Whereas okay, you know what? If we include this in the trailer, then that, like, that might be the best pick. Let's not ruin it by including it in the trailer. Cool. But I think there has to be a good balance. You know what I'm saying? I think, sometimes it's good to show, one of the best parts of a film in a trailer to kind of, get that audience. So I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I do understand where people are scared of spoilers, because I've been, people have told me certain things about movies where it just spoiled it for me. Like, yeah, I'm not even gonna go watch the film. So
yeah, and as a result, we get these useless descriptions and movie posters and so on.
I think part of what you're saying is actually linked to one of my ones, actually, and we'll get onto that a little bit afterwards. But as someone that doesn't really read synopsises too much, like I've sort of haven't really noticed that I kind of go into a movie somewhat knowing what to expect going into it. So it's actually very interesting that you pointed that out. Sorry?
How do you know if you don't read the synopsis?
Like maybe like movie trailers or just kind of like general discussions and stuff like that. And of course, we reviewed Monkey Man last week Thursday. I had like a general sense. We even just like from like the vibe or like the feeling of it, I had like a general sense as to like what to expect going into the movie, without really needing to read the synopsis too much, to be fair. But I do agree in terms of like the whole posters and trailers and stuff like that. They're not really like creative and not really telling a story within it. They're not like supplementing what you're going to watch. It's just, here's a poster with all your favorite actors that you're going to see, and of course, the main ones are going to be like front and center of the poster, and you might have like a few other ones dotted about which you might recognize as well. So no, I definitely hear your point on that.
So here's a fun exercise. Go to any streaming service you want and pick a show that like the one you've seen before, maybe preferably more than once, and then just read the episode descriptions and then see if you know what episode they're talking about. I guarantee you can't.
I'm actually gonna give that a try. I might give that a try at some point on one of the.
And it drives me crazy. Like I'm sure I've missed out on good shows because they couldn't be bothered to sell it to me.
Yeah. I guess so. I'm gonna introduce my one now, and the reason I said it was somewhat linked to mine. So like one of my pet peeves at the moment is scoopers and people that have a theory for everything. And this doesn't relate to all the movies or like all the sort of movies on streaming or anything like that. But it just feels like we don't really get, especially in like the big blockbusters, we don't really get much surprises anymore, and it's really frustrating because like every day online there's like set photos being leaked, there's kind of like synopsises being leaked, or like there's like plot points or like just like specific things, like for example for the Fantastic Four. And I'm not going to mention what I saw online, but I saw one thing that could potentially be happening in the Fantastic Four movie, and I'm like, I would rather find out about that in the movie as opposed to reading it on Twitter, because it's very underwhelming. Like again, like seeing Wolverine in his costume, I would want to see that for the first time either in the trailer that they show us or in the movie, and I don't want to watch that. So I don't want to see that online where I've just scrolled on it, seen it, and then scroll past it, and it's just like, okay, like now when I see it, it's going to be very it's not going to be underwhelming, but it's not going to hit as much as it would. And it's very interesting that you say like people are like very scared of spoilers, and I feel like that's part of it as well. Like if you have like a favorite show, if there's like a big movie that's come out, people will actively avoid going online for a certain amount of days or until they've seen it, because people are going to be talking about it. People are like, you won't even be looking for it, and it will just hit you online. You'll read one thing and it'll just like kind of just like kill you, and it's like, oh, okay, I've read that now, I know this is going to happen, and that's a big bummer. So I understand why they try to be a little bit more protective of, and again, this is more probably on my side, it's more related to like the bigger blockbusters where more people where there's more attention on it, as opposed to some of the sort of smaller streaming films. But I understand why they'd want to protect what's happening in the movie, and even all the way down to the synopsis, because they can reveal something, and then you have someone that's a comic book expert that sort of takes a line and is able to tell you sort of which comic book they're adapting, and sort of what the story point is going to be, and this, that, and the other. And it's all of a sudden you're kind of going into it with it ruined, essentially, and it's just like, yeah. So like for the Deadpool movie, for example, like we're being listed, they're listing all the possible cameos that are going to appear in Deadpool, and it's like, again, you just want the element of surprise, which isn't always there in modern movies because of scoopers and people online posting set photos and sort of leak and stuff.
it's a strange paradox where we kind of get both of these at the same time.
Mhm.
Where people speculate for often years about what characters are going to be in a movie, what a movie is going to be about, but at the same time, people are terrified of finding out what's going to happen in a movie. And that's even baked into the language, right? Like both of you have said, I don't want the movie ruined for me, but does it ruin the movie if you know what the plot is?
It doesn't ruin the movie if you know what the plot is. I think when I mention it, it's more, when there's like certain aspects of the movie. So I think I touched on like Wolverine's, seeing Wolverine in his suit for the first time. It's slightly ruined because if I saw it for the first time in the trailer, it would have been like, a little bit more epic or whatever. But, knowing what the plot of the movie is going to be and understanding kind of like, the story that they're trying to tell isn't necessarily like a bad thing, for example. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah, it's just everything that then comes along with it online sometimes, man. Where just too much speculation.
Like with the new DC continuity, there's a Supergirl movie coming out, and we know what graphic novel it's about, or which storyline it's based on. So you can go out and buy that book and read it, and essentially know what's going to happen in the movie. With it, is like, does that ruin the movie, or should they have just tried to hide which storyline they're adapting?
It depends on how well they adapt it, to be honest. Like I guess having so like for the Supergirl movie, I think I can't remember which one they're adapting, but knowing the comic book and sort of kind of like knowing a bit of the story of like what's to come is fine because it's a comic book adaptation, and they're sort of due to maybe change certain things, and we might like swap in sort of different characters. So like for like Civil War, for example, they couldn't do it exactly comic accurate because they didn't have all the characters available, but they made it slightly different. They sort of added a little bit of a new twist to it, but you kind of understand there's going to be a Civil War. It's going to be Team Cap versus Team Iron Man, etc. So you kind of understand some of the basics of it.
That's the thing for me. That's why I can't read adaptations like from novels or comics. I just don't know how you people do it. Like I try to act like I could. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna read this, but then when I thought about it, I said I can't do it because I just can't. Like for example, I'm reading scripts on the train, right? And I read like 3 scripts so far. I read Flatliners. I've read The Strangers again, even though I watched it. I watched another. I forgot what the other thing was. A Netflix movie, right? I tried to go and watch it. Actually, I tried to go and watch the actual movie like the following day, but I just couldn't finish it. Like 20 minutes in, I was like, I already know what's gonna happen. I just couldn't do it. So I've realized for me personally, like when it comes to knowing the plot, that knowing what's going to, as in like you don't know exactly what's going to happen because the plot doesn't fully tell you what's going to happen. It's going to be like, oh, this person's going through this journey and they have to, it's a plot, so it doesn't fully tell you what's going to happen. It just tells you what the journey is going to be like, and the battles that they're going to have. That's fine, but actually knowing the outcome of that battle, I just can't do it. So even like with these comic books, right, or just novels, I can't see myself reading a whole novel then being excited to see what the film looks like. Maybe a video game I would be able to watch, but in terms of like a novel, maybe like a video game adaptation I'll be able to watch because I think that would be fun seeing that in real life. But an actual book, actually, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'd be able to do it because I know what's gonna happen. So it's like, for me, the surprise is one of the most important things for me when it comes to film.
So I think we kind of span the entire spectrum because I don't care about spoilers at all, to the point where I would often read spoilers just to figure out if a movie was going to be worth my time. Right? Because so many movies fall apart in the second half, or they have some big gotcha at the end or whatever, where it starts out as one thing and then turns into something else halfway through or towards the end. And I kind of want to know if that happens, and I want to know if it becomes stupid at some point, because then I might not bother to watch it. So
I have a question.
Over time, yeah.
I have a question. So say there's a movie and there's a very good plot twist in the movie that if you'd watched it without having spoilers, you wouldn't have seen it coming, and it was fantastic. Would you rather experience that, or would you have rather known it was coming and then maybe like during the movie try to piece how the plot twist was sort of going to come about?
So I think big plot twists are a special case where the surprise is the point.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in most stories don't have a big plot twist like that is really important or that is supposed to have this big impact. If I find out that there's a big plot twist coming, then I'll probably not read any further.
Okay.
But in like I don't think most stories rise to that level where it's that important. Even knowing the ending, the good guys win at the end.
Of course.
They struggle for a bit and then they win.
Yeah.
That's the end of 99% of stories. So I don't know why people get so bent out of shape about endings. For me, the journey is much more interesting. But to bring it back to the original topic, I think there is a pretty healthy middle ground where you can say, okay, this is what the story is about and this is how it starts. And you can give a decent overview of what kind of story it is without revealing the ending or giving big plot twists or taking the experience of the first of the first viewing away from somebody. I've seen there's just reactions like if a trailer has the opening scene in it, for example, then I've seen people say, well, that movie was ruined because now I've seen it. But you've seen the first 5 minutes of it.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't seen the entire story. So, and I think that is kind of the mentality that people are afraid of, or that's how people who like make movie posters and stuff like that, or write these descriptions think, where if you give anything away at all, that's ruined the movie or at least diminished it. And I think that does more harm than good.
Yeah, I don't agree with, people that believe that. I think, like you said, there's a medium, and there has to be a medium where you show you show a taster. For me, you need to show a taster of what you're gonna, of what you're gonna see. You know what I'm saying? So people that say stuff like that is stupid. Like, what? Like, okay, so then how are they gonna sell the actual film to you? You know what I'm saying?
They do it by having the actors look at the camera and with a serious face.
Yeah, but
that's how almost all of them do it.
They look what happened to Argyle. That was a disaster. They had the posters. I remember I saw that trailer everywhere, but that's literally their poster was bland. Their poster was kind of bland. It was bland. They just had the actors know what actors look at us in their posters. That was a disaster trade. So that doesn't, you know what I'm saying, that doesn't work anymore.
I think the whole thing is a vast overreaction to those 90s style trailers that start off in a world, right? And then give the high concept. In the 90s, pretty much every movie trailer was like this, and people made fun to the point where people made fun of it. And now everybody wants to avoid that like the plague, and as a result, they tell you nothing. Not specifically in trailers, but just in how they market and present the movie. Like I don't think anything would be lost if they just put like the concept or the premise on the poster. Right, that as long as that doesn't reveal like the big twist or whatever it is, and this is how the story starts or something like that. I don't think anybody would be reasonably upset about that.
Yeah, no, 100%, because that's actually good. That's actually a good idea. I don't know why a lot of these people.
And they used to do it, right? But then that fell away, and I think it's because of spoiler culture. It's just way over. Like an overcorrection, the pendulum has to swing back a little bit to a happy medium, I think.
Yeah. Well, my one was completely different from you guys. My one was actually kind of link to Marvel. Was Marvel are definitely a big advocate for this, but it's the whole having needing to see their previous. I was going to say content, but I know Daniel hates that. So I'm going to say their previous films and TV shows in order for you to understand their upcoming one. Now, funny enough, this never used to affect me. I actually did like this, but until it affected me, now I don't like it anymore. And I just hated my experience when watching Ant-Man versus was it Ant-Man? Was the Ant-Man something Quantumanium World or something like that? But where Kang was in it, I didn't hate the experience, but I disliked the experience. I could have liked the experience even way more, even though the film wasn't great. I could have definitely given that film a better rating if I understood some of the things that I was seeing. But because I didn't watch the Loki series, I think you needed to watch what was it? The witch. What's her name? Wanda. Yes, Wanda. Yes, you need to watch. I think you need to watch her series as well.
Doctor Strange. That was more for Doctor Strange.
Okay, I was going to mention that one. I watched that one a while. I skipped it in theaters and then saw it fairly recently. And while I thought the movie was fine, I felt like it got half a story.
Yes, exactly, and that's exactly the feeling that I got. It's like you're watching half a story because I remember at the end of the credit scene, um, everyone saw Loki and everyone saw Kang as well, and the way that the audience was just cheering, they were just so excited. I was like, what am I missing here? And what I was missing was the whole season of Loki. So, I never used to be against this because I was up, I was watching all the Disney shows, I was watching all the Disney movies, so I was cool. But then obviously life started to kick in. And once life starts to kick in, busyness starts to kick in. And once busyness starts to kick in, you don't have time to watch everything that's being pushed out to you. And once you don't have time for everything that's being pushed out to you, you start missing key moments like that in the theater where everyone was clapping. I was just sitting there looking baffled, dumbfounded. So, yeah, man, this one I didn't want to say it because if Marvel end up making a masterpiece with their upcoming projects, you know what I'm saying, and I'm on top of my game, then and I'm watching all their series and all their movies, I'll be like, yes, Marvel's back. You know what I'm saying? I won't be complaining about the whole, fitting the pieces to the puzzle continuation method that they got going on here. I wouldn't mind, but because I'm lacking and I'm slacking when it comes to keeping up, that's why unfortunately I have to put it as a trend, which will yeah. But I feel like I'm gonna regret this. I want to regret this decision because when I get, but like when I start finding oil in Saudi Arabia and I get rich and I'm not doing that and just watching shows, I'm gonna be praising Marvel for their masterpieces. You know what I'm saying? And the whole puzzle methods that they got going on here. So
I think that's a manageable risk. I think that's one of those things that look great on paper, right? We would all like to have this vast interconnected story that's really rich, and the more you engage with it, the more rewarding it is, and it all adds up to something. And that's worked exactly once in recent memory, right? Which was phase 1 to 3 of the MCU.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of time and money has been wasted trying to do that again, not just by Disney, but by everybody else. And it seems a bit like that is over now.
You think they're not going to do that for the?
Like, it is because like everyone is still trying to push their cinematic universe. Like I think I read the other day that they want to make a Avengers level Sonic movie, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like,
I saw that headline. What do they mean by that?
yeah, this is like I didn't like delve too deep into it, but it's just like, everyone wants to have their shared universe where like, even with like the Super Mario movie, they were talking about like introducing new characters for like future movies and stuff like that. And it's just like, we don't all have to do it. We don't all have to have a shared universe. Sometimes you can make a few good movies that are like not specifically connected, but they're in the same world, but they are their own standalone story, which don't have to build up to a big event, which is perceived to be their equivalent of an Avengers Infinity War or Endgame. Just make some good movies.
And even in comics, you don't have to read everything.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's a crossover, you might have to. But you can just pick and choose the series that you're interested in. I think that's the trick that these things miss. That not only is it a bad idea to try to have this big vast continuity planned out from the start, and then if one part struggles, like the Mummy did with the Monsterverse, right? Whatever it's called, then the whole thing falls apart, and it's or if like where the Jonathan Majors stuff, where that one actor not being available anymore and not being viable anymore has thrown a decade of planning into turmoil, right? Like the whole thing is just too fragile. You can't just churn these out reliably. Like in order for it to even happen once, all sorts of factors have to just align, and you have to get incredibly lucky.
Well, couldn't they just replace the actor with that? I don't know why they wouldn't.
I guess they could have recast, right? I don't think anybody is attached enough to the character. But the point is, they like the next decade of MCU had hinged on Kang, right? And was supposed to be this actor. I mean, of course, I guess they could have recast, but like at minimum, it was a problem, right? It wasn't just the next movie; it was the next 10 years worth of movies that suddenly had to be reconsidered.
I mean, Jonathan Majors is a fantastic actor as well. So it's like, you're losing losing an actor that people, really enjoyed as well. So it's, it's then like when the next person comes in, it's like, people might have issues with whoever you try to recast him with as well.
Yeah, but just the fact that one actor is that important.
Yeah.
To this kind of project is a huge risk.
Yeah.
Well, guys.
Well, I mean, I had some honorable mentions, and these are ones I just want to mention. The whole comedic relief stuff that happens in movies, and at times when they undercut like serious some of the moments in the movie, even when it's like a final battle with like a boss, or if there's just like serious stuff going on in the movie, and they just throw in comedy for the sake of fucking comedy, driving crazy.
It's called bathos, and it's horrible hacky writing. Like in very specific cases, it can work, but if it becomes the default tone, it just ruins everything.
Like with again, I watched Dune Part 2 again. Great movie.
Not a joke in that movie. Like I think there was one.
Sorry?
There was maybe one joke in that movie.
Yeah, and it was I
loved it.
And it was great, and it was like, I mean, there was one part as well which like everyone in the in the cinema laughed at, was when Paul Atreides is saying that he's not the Muad'Dib, and he's like, I'm not the savior, this, that, and the other, and then it cuts his Stilgar with all like the religious fanatics, and he's like, oh, he's saying like he's too humble to say he's a Muad'Dib.
His humility is evidence that
it's literally like everyone started laughing, but it fits within the context because he's a religious fanatic, and it fits within the context, and it's funny, whatever. But some like one that I thought of, and I hate bashing on Marvel because I love Marvel, but like Shang-Chi, when they had Aquafina in there, and she was just like riffing off like joke, like trying to do like joke after joke, and it just wasn't really landing for me, and a lot of it just like completely fell flat, and it was just like she was just there to serve jokes because Marvel needs jokes in the movie, and it just wasn't great.
I got off the train in the opening scene of Ragnarok, Thor 3, where he has this big epic showdown with the villain. I forget his name now. And Thor is kind of suspended from the ceiling, and they have to stop the monologue in order for him to swing back. And it's completely unearned, undeserved. Removes any tension whatsoever. And that's just one example. Yeah, the problem is not that they did it. The problem is that they did it always.
Yeah. And every character is not the same, basically. But I have one more shout out. And that's making movies for the sake of making movies. We need to stop this trend. We need to find good stories that we want to tell, and then tell those stories, and not just find old IPs. And we've kind of, this is maybe like beating a dead horse as well, because I know we've talked about this a lot, but in this specific context of like talking about movie trends that need to end, the whole just trying to like make movies for the sake of making movies with no real idea or plan behind it, like
just the idea that you can plan out a content pipeline for 10 years is crazy.
It's crazy. It doesn't, like, you have to earn the right to, like, one, you have to earn the right to like tell multiple stories, and two, you have to have the idea, you have to have it planned out. Like, again, this is why Marvel Phase 1 to 3 worked out so well, because they had a general idea as to where they wanted the stories kind of like go. Obviously, like, things might have changed in that time, but they still had a general idea or goal of what they wanted to do. Whereas like some of these other things, again, where everyone wants to do a cinematic universe for the sake of doing a cinematic universe, do you actually have a story to tell? Like, what's the roadmap, basically? Or are we just making movies for the sake of it?
Yeah. My honorable mention is mystery box writing, where the entire thing just hinges on a mystery, and you start writing the story without even a solution in mind. Mm-hmm. And the entire experience of watching the story is just speculating about what the answer might be, when by now people should have learned that there isn't actually one. Like, Lost started this famously, but it was Game of Thrones was plagued by this as well, and it shows up in all sorts of places. They create this fake sophistication and depth by just throwing clues out that may or may not even have an answer. Even if they do, they might not get to revealing the answer, and if they do, it might not be that great. So this entire idea of that it's all about the mystery which kind of ties back into the spoiler again, because if the mystery is the point, then you can't know the answer ahead of time, right? That has to be the point of watching the story. And I think that feels like it should be compelling, but it's ruined many more stories than it's improved, I think. So that's that was kind of my second pick that I was going to bring up.
No.
Okay. Well, my honorable mention is closing today's episode because I don't have one. So, guys, Thank you all for tuning into today's episode. We hope you enjoy. Let us know what you think and let us know what your movie trends that you think should comment down in the comment section below. But Harvey, your time, please.
Yep. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, of course. Tell a friend to tell a friend as well.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you very much, and we will catch you on the next episode with we're gonna be what's our next episode? What are we gonna be dropping in terms of the movie review?
Civil War, I believe.
Yes. I mean, so yes. Civil War. I'm actually looking forward to that. I think this is the film for me. This might be my movie. Actually, no, it's not gonna be my film of the year. It might be my second film. Might be the second best film of the year. It depends. It might. That's for another day. But first of course, we'll do.
Bets on odds on Daniel getting cancelled.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week. Over.
Yeah.